So now we're going to actually stencil onto the guns, and as you can see I've already cut out the shapes, and as you can see I've also used them on the other side that you're going to see right away after I'm done demonstrating. The back side stays clean because we're stenciling it on. You want to center it onto where you want your image to be duplicated, and then I'm going to mix just a little bit of white with a little bit of yellow, because yellow tends to be more transparent. Even if you buy it cheap kinds, it tends to be more transparent. So even if you just slightly stippled on a little bit of white, and again it's not very much paint, and I go back over what I just put down until it's nice and even. So just light dabbing until it's nice and evenly spread. And it's okay because we want it to look somewhat weathered, aged, as if the gun's been around for a while. It's okay if some spots are lighter than other because we're going to go over this with a couple other colors. So I just get the white on there, and I will remove it so you can see roughly what it looks like. So if you can see on the end, not much showed up there, but that's okay because the next color I'm going to put over it, and it dries relatively fast because we're not putting a whole lot of paint on it. The next color will be the yellow, and I'll just dab it into what I just used with the white. And again, the brush has very, very, very little paint on it. So I start at the top, work my way down and around, and keep stippling it on. Just quick pouncing motions. And as you can see, my fingers are holding the stencil into place because you don't want it to move around a lot on you. Okay. So once I'm satisfied with how much yellow I have on it, I can take it off, give it a good look, and it's not too bad. But the other color that I want to add is just a little bit of red. So I'll squeeze a little bit of red. And then with a different colored or a different brush, I will stipple on, making sure to line up the stencil. Get a little bit on the brush, get it even. And then on the spots that didn't have as much of the yellow, I will go back over and stipple. And you can blend it to make it fairly even. Okay, so then once I get the color on there how I want it, I remove it, see if I like it, and if I don't, you can just keep putting the stencil back on there and putting on the amount of color that you like. Okay. So that's the first step of stenciling. And just a basic guide of how to stencil. On the other side, I'll show you what I did. And as you can see, there wasn't as much red. But what I did to help it stand out more was I went in around the edges with black to help the letters stand out a little bit more. So, because this side, it needs more of the white, not a problem. You can just go over it with a little bit more of the white. to make sure it matches what you did. And right now it looks real splotchy, but what's great about pouncing with the brush is I can blend it out and get a more even and consistent look. And if you mess up, this is the one thing that a lot of people start to freak out about, is that if you mess up, if you get all the colors on there and you absolutely hate it, it's not the end of the world. Just take your stencil, put it over on top, and just put the white. Just fill it all in with white, and then let that dry, and then you can start on with a new color. So I have that on there, and then with a small detail brush like this, I can go in with just straight up black paint. Just very lightly get the end covered in black, and then just like shadows, I go in and around the edge to bring out the color, bring out the shape of the letters. As you can see, I'm hardly putting on anything, hardly any paint, but just that little bit goes a long way. And this is what I would consider closest thing to dry brushing for this kind of effect. The shorter the bristles, I have another brush that I was using that I liked. It's really tiny. But the really short bristles are a little more firm and rigid, which lets you get in and around the edges. But just this little bit goes a long way in helping it stand out against the green background. And so see, I put in a little too much. Just by rubbing my finger over it, I can blend it away. But just that little bit helps the numbers stand out against the green. Okay, and then the other thing that I did was I went in with just a little bit of steel wool, and where I wanted it to look a little more worn away, you just rub over some of the edges, and then it's not so sharp looking. It looks like it's been used for a while. Okay, and then what's nice is that we've put in this blast mark with a watered down with some clear. I put in some of this varnish that you can buy at the store. Same brand. And then you can just put it into the crevice of the blast mark that you put in. Then with your rag, if you just lightly rub across the top, you can get some of those brush marks to disappear. And then if you want to accent it just a little bit more, it's kind of like finger painting sometimes. But you're just following the marks that you gave yourself when you used the Dremel. And you'll let the paint set in the grooves. And that's the first step to getting that blast look.